Welcome to our weekly live stream. It's been weekly. We've been doing it for 3 weeks now, and that's the plan. Every 7 o'clock Mountain Time, Thursday night. Next week we've got a cool program. Tonight you'll notice that we don't have Rod with us, and he's not feeling so hot. So we're looking forward to him being with us next week to talk about the Hellfire Club. But tonight we're going to be talking about the secret society called the Alfalfa Club. Now, if you're subscribed to this channel, if you're not, please do. You've probably seen some of our other videos on the Alfalfa Club, but we will be going into more detail tonight than we've gone before. We'd like to just help you understand better about these different secret societies, what their goals are, how they cross over, that kind of a thing. So please, if you have any questions, you got any comments, thoughts, put them there in the chat. We'll try to figure out how to keep that chat live after this live stream is over with. We'll be going to be reading from the Alfalfa Club's actual autobiography. That'll be really cool. And then we're also going to be we're going to be sharing with you some new things that came out this year, 2025, about the Alfalfa Club. So this is not only the history of the Alfalfa Club, their aims, people that have been involved in it, but also current news regarding the Alfalfa Club. So with that, in my book Invasion, I cover in great detail the Alfalfa Club amongst other organizations that are working to destroy the liberty of the entire earth, and encourage you to go to treeoflibertysociety.com and pick up a copy. There, I have, in the next couple of days, we'll be putting up a pre-order for the update for Invasion. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be combining Volume 1 and 2, adding additional information that wasn't in Volume 1 and 2 before, and then including in it an original printing of Killing No Murder, as well as a modern translation of Killing No Murder. The individual copy of Killing No Murder you can buy right now at Tree of Liberty Society. But if you want to get that new combined single book, Invasion, going to be doing a pre-order here in the next couple of days, and it'll be released on April 6th. So look forward to that. And so with that, let's get right into our what we're going to be talking about with the Alfalfa Club tonight. So good to see everybody there in the chat. Let's go ahead and get started here. I'm going to be reading later on also from the autobiography, so that'll be hopefully pretty interesting and pretty fun for us all to be able to go through. Okay, so we have here, this is from 2019. Mitt Romney announced on corporate media is the president of a secret society in Washington. And the article goes through, and it's, they don't address it much. Just what it is, it says Mitt Romney has been named the president of the Alfalfa Club. He has been a member of the secret society, which includes politicians, business leaders, and billionaires since 2015. Romney takes over from another former Massachusetts politician, John Kerry, who we talked about last week as being a member of Skull and Bones. So we have these individuals that are globalists that are the head of the Alfalfa Club. And it's pretty crazy that this corporate media would call it a secret society, but not even delve into what is it about? Why is it secret? They just do this nonsense that we see on most articles that talk about it, which we're going to get to in a second. But just remind you about here we have John Kerry, former member, president of the Alfalfa Club. Who was the president of the Alfalfa Club before John Kerry? Mike Bloomberg, another globalist. Okay. So Bloomberg said, "Who needs the White House when you can be president of the Alfalfa Club? Actually, I loved every minute of it. I come to the office every weekday at 11 a.m. So that's Tim talking about being the head of the Alfalfa Club. It has a president. But we see, of course, what the mainstream claims are of the Alfalfa Club is that it's simply just an organization that celebrates the birthday of Confederate General Robert E. Lee. That's their sole purpose. They've been around since 1913, is the claim, and that we just every year these globalists get together to celebrate Robert E. Lee's birthday. Now, Obama, right? Why would Obama attend a celebration of Robert E. Lee's birthday if Robert E. Lee's this big racist and the Confederacy was all about racism that everybody the mainstream corporate media claims that it is? It's clearly more to it than that, right? We have these. We're going to go to some points about Alfalfa Club membership. It's limited to elites in government, academia, business. It's invitation only, right? If don't call us, we'll call you type of a situation. Only 200 members at a time. And some of these members, we have Joe Biden, Bush Sr. And Jr., Nelson Rockefeller, Mike Pompeo, Colin Powell, Condoleezza Rice, Henry Kissinger, Donald Rumsfeld, Orrin Hatch, Chuck Schumer, Mike Bloomberg, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, Bill Marriott, et cetera, et cetera. So it's pretty wild that these different people, supposedly from different backgrounds, right, would get together to be a part of this club, and that they would be invited to be a part of this club if they are so different from each other. Of course, these guys are all globalists and not interested in actual, liberty or anything like that. So that when we look at what they're actually all about, it makes sense. And so new members are only accepted when another member dies. So we get into just looking at that right there, the secret society. Why wouldn't, just based on this alone, this is public information, what we see here, why wouldn't all of the mainstream news articles say, Mitt Romney is the head of a racist organization, blah, blah, blah. Obama attends meeting of racist organization. They don't even bring that up. It's not even a question. They just say it nonchalantly, like, it's everything, but if, heaven forbid, you play an episode of the Dukes of Hazzard with the Confederate flag on the top, now, the world's over with. But these guys get together, these elites get together to celebrate a Confederate general. Nobody bats an eye. So, and then you look at these criteria that it's very limited in membership. It is, the people that are involved are the elite of the elites in all of these different areas and segments of society. It doesn't make sense that it is simply what they claim that it is. So we wanted to dig further into it. And in this year, just earlier this year, Armstrong Williams put out this article in the Baltimore Sun. The Alfalfa Club shows what America can be. So now, who is Armstrong Williams? Another individual that has the same ancestry as Barack Obama, at least half of him. And he's attending this celebration for Robert E. Lee. So Williams writes a nationally syndicated conservative, and I put that in quotes because he's not what I consider conservative, newspaper column, has hosted a daily radio show and hosts a nationally syndicated television program called The Armstrong Williams Show. In 2013, Williams was involved in the purchase of 2 television stations as part of a larger $370 million acquisition of Barrington Broadcasting by Sinclair Broadcast Group. So Sinclair, another one of these conglomerates that own television stations around several years ago, where all of the different news stations across the country were saying the exact same thing, and that's Sinclair. So part of that. Howard Stirk Holdings, which Williams owns, was given ownership over NBC affiliate in Flint and Bay City, Michigan, and CW affiliate in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. We see here that in 2005, USA Today reported that documents obtained under the Freedom of Information Act revealed that Williams had been paid $240,000 to promote No Child Left Behind. So what conservative promotes No Child Left Behind? And he's this supposed conservative talk show host that is getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to be a propagandist for the government. USA Today reported that Williams was hired to promote the law on his nationally syndicated television show and to urge other black journalists to do the same. So he's being used to be able to promote this horrible government program to black journalists who are speaking predominantly to black individuals across the country. As part of the agreement, Williams was required to regularly comment on No Child Left Behind during the course of his broadcasts and to interview Education Secretary Rod Page for TV and radio spots that aired during the show in 2004. The contract with Williams was part of a $950,000 contract between the U.S. government, Department of Education, and the public relations company Ketchum, Inc. So they were paid almost $1 million to be propagandists, just this one little thing. So when you think that, oh, I don't listen to the government, I don't believe what the government puts out, I listen to my favorite radio talk show host, I listen to my favorite television personality. They're good, probably paid propagandists for the government. So you've got to take that in consideration as well of what's really going on here. Well, we hope the audio gets better on that. So, okay. Sorry, Joyce. We go here in January 2005. USA Today reported that documents I guess I doubled that one. And Williams settled sexual harassment lawsuits, one in 1997 and another in 2017. So in his article here, just wanted to give some background before I read this article that he wrote about the Alfalfa Club. And you can kind of see who he is. He claims to be a conservative, but that's not what he is. That's not who he is. As we see, A, he's a part of the Alfalfa Club, and B, he is there as a shill for the government, promoting big government, big education, and the detriment that it does to our children that are in government schools. So in this article, talking about the Alfalfa Club, how it's this great example of what we can all be and what would make America better is if we followed. So he says the most prominent, influential elected officials, political appointees, and business leaders in the United States convened for a special banquet hosted by the Alfalfa Club on the last Saturday of January. So just like we have the Bohemian Grove meet in the end of July, beginning of August every year, the Alfalfa Club meets on the last Saturday of January every single year. The small club boasts a storied history with, like most clubs, humble beginnings. The first meeting of the Alfalfa Club was in 1913 when 4 Southerners in Washington, D.C. joined to celebrate the birthday of Confederate General Robert E. Lee. It says, over time, I participated in the activities of the day at the 112th Alfalfa Club dinner, an exclusive event, and in reality, the only event that the club exists for. So they have a president. They meet every year religiously, and it is only 200 people, and it is the elites of the elites. But their only reason to exist, and I just love how they just have to say that over and over again. Methinks thou dost protest too much. They only exist to meet together to celebrate Robert E. Lee's birthday. The event is a black tie banquet held at the final Saturday of each January. The banquet has no real purpose other than to bring together a group of devoted, patriotic Americans from the highest level of government and business, lobbyists, business executives, elected officials, you name it. That's just right there, just tells you everything you need to know about Armstrong Williams, right? He says it's prominent, influential elected officials, and that they're patriotic Americans. They're just devoted, patriotic Americans from the deep inside the bowels of Washington, D.C. Right? They're just America. We're just about America at the Alfalfa Club. And who else is just all about America in the Alfalfa Club, right? We have both Buffett and Bloomberg. You have good old Turtlehead there. Mitch McConnell. You got Mitt Romney, of course. Obama and Biden and others of their ilk, of this, supremely patriotic ilk. These just America lovers right there. Constitutionalists every step of the way, man. America. So he says, attending such a dinner reveals that the leaders of these political parties, who publicly disparage one another almost daily, do not view their relationships in the same manner as many Americans regrettably do. So right here, he's saying exactly what we're talking about here of what the conspiracy operates, where in the public view, they are these arch enemies, right? They publicly disparage one another, but when they get behind closed doors, they're best buddies. And so we have to start to realize what Carroll Quigley said in Tragedy and Hope. He said the two parties should be almost identical so that the American people can throw the rascals out at any election without leading to any profound or extensive shifts in policy. Okay, we can throw the bums out and nothing changes in government because we think that we're believing the propaganda that we're told that these guys are, that we see, playing out on TV, just like a professional wrestling match that they're fighting, in public. But then when they get together in these private, exclusive meetings, they're best buddies. And that's exactly what Carroll Quigley talked about. That's what this Armstrong is admitting to, that these conspirators are pretending to be one thing in public when they're actually best buddies in private. Well, I'm sorry that it's going in and out for you. It looks like some of you are having problems, but I'm not sure if everybody is. My internet's doing good. And, but for some reason, it says that you guys aren't having good audio there. So we'll just keep going, and hopefully that gets cleared up here. We need to figure out a permanent solution for this. But we also recognize, so before I do that, so right now I want to get into what they believe about themselves, because that's really important what we see here. Because, right, we've looked at what the Wikipedia articles say, we look at what the news says, and we look at what just what Armstrong Williams said about it, that they've just been around since 1913. We're just here to celebrate Robert E. Lee's birthday. And when I read all that, I said, maybe, but that seems pretty fishy. The chances of that happening are very slim. So why are they meeting together? Trying to dig around, look at what they say about themselves, trying to see, like, if you've got some kind of an origin, like you have with Carroll Quigley in Tragedy and Hope, where he confesses what the Council on Foreign Relations is all about. He's like, I think what they're doing is fantastic. The only thing I disagree with is that they wish to be kept a secret. So was there something like that for the Alfalfa Club? Because their public face didn't pass the smell test. And so deep in the archives and the just down in the deepest recesses of the Vatican archives, I was able to find their autobiography. No, just kidding. It's not in the Vatican archives. But it was deep in the archives of a university in the Midwest, and was able to look through what it was that they said about themselves. Now, as you read their autobiography, which is not publicly available on the internet, you can't go to archive, you can't go to Amazon and pick up a copy of it. I had to get the university to scan it and to send me a PDF, which is available in the archives at the Tree of Liberty Society at treeoflibertysociety.com, and go through and read it. And it's written in a way where you're like, what is really going on? Is this written as a joke? Is it written seriously? Is it written in a way where you've got a mixture of things and you've got to kind of piece together this puzzle that they put together? Because some of it's like, is that really what you believe? And some of it's like, there's no way you would say that unless you were serious. And I'm going to show you those real quick. I just want to give you that background. So this is what they're saying about themselves. And what I believe, without further information, is that this is what they believe about themselves. And, some say, well, they started meeting in 1913. And if they say that they're the oldest, which they do, they say that they're the oldest secret society in existence. Now, are they just trying to prop themselves up, make themselves look like they're more important than they really are? Well, I mean, why would you have to do that when you have the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court there, President of the United States there? You know, you don't really have to puff yourself up with that, but nevertheless, right? Is that the case? Well, when we understand that the conspiracy goes back to Cain and his conspiracy between him and the conspiracy between him and Satan, this conspiracy that exists today goes back all the way to the beginning of time, and it is a continuation of that. So even if it goes in and out of existence, I would say that even if it went away for a while and then that brought back in 1913, the claim that it is the oldest conspiracy in the world is the oldest secret society in the world is very plausible. But so I'm just going to go through that information. So let's just go back and share. Let's share this. This real quick and go through who Ralph Burton is, because that's really important for us to understand as well. So Ralph Burton, we go here. This book is not published. It's published in 1917, not available anywhere, and it's what they believe about their history. Written by H. Ralph Burton. Now, who is H. Ralph Burton? I never heard of him before I found the copy of this book, so I want to do some research. He was born in 1882, lived to 1971. He was a special investigator for the Senate Campaign Expenditures Committee. He was a special investigator for the House Appropriations Committee in charge of New York City and State. General Counsel to the House Military Affairs Committee. Chief investigator for the Senate Committee on Post Office and Civil Service. General Counsel for the House Select Committee on Current Pornographic Materials. Founding member of the National Press Club. National Union for Social Justice. Go back. So you see here, he is basically the insider's insider. This is no clown making a funny little joke, right? And you look at this social justice, what that's, we see it starting back then and going till today, and what it's really been able to be developed into was their ultimate goal, of course. So this guy's no slouch. He's an insider, as we see with the Alfalfa Club today. And so their key beliefs as we go through it, they're the oldest club in existence, dating back to ancient Egypt. It's been the power behind the throne, and their documents were what many of the major wars throughout history were about, and whomever had control won the wars. They put into place the leaders of ancient societies all over the world throughout time, and their records were what Germany was after during World War I to gain power. Okay? So here, that quote right here, it was the Colonel Edward Mandell House of the olden days. So in 1917, when this book came out, nobody knew in the general public really who Colonel House was. And even today, maybe some people don't know who Colonel House was. So we see here, he is the alter ego to President Woodrow Wilson. And he wanted to build socialism as dreamed of by Karl Marx. And that is what he stated in his book, Philip Drew Administrator. So he's a co-founder of the CFR and the Federal Reserve. And in a book about Edward Mandell House, I'm sorry, not right here. Here's a quote from President Wilson. He says, "Mr. House is my second personality. He is my independent self. His thoughts and mine are one. If I were in his place, I would do just as he suggested. If anyone thinks he is reflecting my opinion by whatever action he takes, they are welcome to the conclusion." So that's exactly who he was, Wilson's brain. And then again, we have a Skull and Bones member, Charles Seymour, wrote that house in his autobiography, or in his not autobiography, but his biography. He wrote that House was the unseen guardian angel of the Federal Reserve Act. Colonel House was the behind-the-scenes power broker who ensured the passage of the Federal Reserve Act in 1913. Later co-founder of the Council on Foreign Relations, whose goal is to build world government under the United Nations. So again, the fact that Burton would compare the Alfalfa Club to House is very revealing. It says what their goals are. It tells you that they are, that they know that House was the behind the scenes guy that nobody knew about, and that only, except for the elites knew that he was the power behind the throne. He was the puppet master to the puppet of who was President Wilson. And so we can see that they knew that, and that they talked about it in the book written amongst themselves. So that's an important thing for us to remember about. Okay, I was told that when I switch it to the book that you can't hear me talking. So let me just fix that real quick. Okay. Okay, hopefully now you can hear me. I apologize for that. So let's go back to the book. And so I was just reading through here. Hopefully you saw as I was going through that we had this evidence that was brought to them about the organization, that they're to get rid of, all of the laughing and jokes about them, and that we now have the evidence to show what we claimed all the time, and that a man of most distinguished appearance called upon me at my office. His every appearance denoted the student, the ardent lover of research, and above all, the gentleman. He asked me if he was correct in his understanding that I was a member of the Alfalfa Club, to which I replied that the happy honor was mine. Probably the enthusiasm of my response was what caused him to smile in a knowing way. He then stated that it was his good fortune to come upon information which he thought would be of great interest to the club, in view of the great uncertainty regarding its origin, history, and object. With this explanation of his visit, he handed to me a package of papers stating that they contained the records of the club's interesting origin and history, the full description of the object, which some of the famous royal secrets, being in a separate manuscript which he would bring later to the office. These interesting documents, which I have studied with utmost interest for weeks, are as follows. So this mysterious guy comes to him and says, "Hey, I've got the history of your organization. There has come to me good fortune of knowing the truth about the Alfalfa Club, which though its members today are probably in ignorance of the fact, is the oldest known in the history of the world." So what are some of your thoughts about that? It's pretty interesting that they would talk about this. And that's interesting that, he's like, hey, most of you members that this book is published to and for don't even know about it, right? And it's plausible that the people today don't know about it, but we know that they're not meeting just to celebrate Robert E. Lee's birthday. They're not just meeting for networking, right? You don't have a president, you don't have an organization with this history to simply do those things, with this kind of exclusivity to do just those things. That's just not how it works. You You've got your important people. You don't need this to do those things. You can meet privately to make bills pass. You can meet privately to make business deals. You can meet privately to do X, Y, Z without being a member of an organization that claims to simply celebrate the birthday of Robert E. Lee. So what we're reading here is more plausible than the public explanation, in my view. So it goes on. It says, "It was for that reason that I spent months in the study of its revelations. Finally, one day, when least expecting it, I discovered in a remote section of the stone a reference to certain secret archives, which you may be sure I sought without delay. These, so this is the guy that came to him saying this. These, though they had led me into mysteries almost beyond our realization, rewarded me fully by bringing to light, among other things, the truth about the Alfalfa Club, which was never before known. When the first known king of the human race, Menes, united the two kingdoms of Egypt under one crown, which epoch is placed by various historians from 2717 to 5867 BC, he found it necessary to gather about him a number of real good friends who would not mix up with the barbarians to his detriment. To this association was entrusted the great royal secrets. It was called by the king himself the Alfalfa Club, which name has remained to the present day." Okay? So that's what they say about themselves. And it's pretty interesting too when you read that what they're saying is that it was the leader of Egypt, and he brought together individuals that weren't riffraff, basically. The elites of Egypt is who he gathered together, and that's who gathers together today. So, what's more plausible in this situation? So as we continue on in the biography, it says, Mesalam, king of Kish, Anatum, queen of Nyctacorosis, and a long word that I'm not going to try to pronounce, king of Nineveh, Cyrus, king of Elam, and their successors turned to this club for pleasure, assistance, and protection. Isn't that what the elites do today, right? They have these different networks of the conspiracy, these different branches and tentacles of the conspiracy, as I write about in Invasion, where some of them, they get their pleasure, they get their assistance, they get their protection. The conspiracy provides all of those things for those within it. We know that about them. It was guardian of the royal archives. Although little known in history, it was the power behind the throne through the generations of dynasties. It was the Colonel Edward Mandel House of the olden days. When Babylon was invaded by the Semites, which is placed as far back as 5000 BC, it was really for the purpose of acquiring the archives of the Alfalfa Club, which they knew contained such secrets as would give them the power they desired. Okay, as would give them the power that they desired. We see that today, and this is a part of the esoteric aspect of the conspiracy, is that they're looking for this grand secret. Madame Blavatsky wrote her book, The Secret Doctrine. And so the ancient secrets is what the conspiracy is pining for, and what they believe will give them this power that they don't have to be obedient to God and his laws to be able to receive the power that they saw, Moses do with the parting of the Red Sea, or that Elias and Elijah performed. They want to be able to find these secrets to be able to perform these magic tricks, or, to give them this satanic power that will give them dominion over the masses. So again, they are stating what is documented in other places that we know about the conspiracy in general, giving this biography credibility. Credibility in the sense of this is what they believe, and these are their aims and their goals of the individuals that I mentioned earlier that are in and have been in the Alfalfa Club. So we'll continue on. It says Ramses and Shalmaneser the First and the Phoenicians, Theseus, the Trojans, and others successfully built their fortunes upon the results of acquiring these secrets. We have heard many versions of the fall of Troy involving particularly the incident of the great wooden horse, of which much has been written in history. The authenticity of this has been doubted by many. Permit me to say here that the hieroglyphic inscriptions fully corroborate these so-called legends. Now follows the remarkable part of it. Helen of Troy, through her machinations, persuaded the ambassador from Athens to steal the famous secrets of the Alfalfa Club, which had been reposing there since its foundation. The king of Troy knew full well that with these they would be safe. The Greeks, discovering the loss of these cherished documents, immediately made warfare upon Troy. Now, the soldiers who were within the wooden horse when it was shoved through the gates of Troy would never have succeeded if they had not known just where these documents were. The moment they got loose, they beat it for the palace, where they grabbed the secrets. The Trojans were so overcome by their loss that the Greeks got the gates open before they could get a nip to pull themselves together. This is the real truth behind the wooden horse. Thought that was pretty interesting. There seem to be very few references to the activities of the club during several centuries after this. Not after Troy, but looking at 600 years BC to moving forward to modern times. Not a whole lot is known about their efforts. Closing up this autobiography, it says, this comprises all of the particular manuscript, but there was to follow in a few days one containing the great secrets. The gentleman who called was so reluctant about his address that I did not insist upon his giving it to me. It seemed perfectly reasonable to suppose that there would not be any question about his calling with the remaining data, because he had seemed so anxious to get this to me. He seemed to be one who must be treated with the utmost consideration, because naturally, having made such a wonderful discovery, he would be careful in the extreme. Several weeks passed. This seemed very strange, because he had given his assurance that in a few days he would call again. However, a very short time ago, an explanatory letter was received, which read as follows. Dear Mr. Burton, you are undoubtedly wondering what has become of me. You have a right to do so because of my promises. You undoubtedly were impressed with the fact that the manuscript left with you stated that the documents in question were found in Germany several years ago. This is the true situation. It was with the utmost difficulty that they were brought out of that country. The truth of it is that the Kaiser depended upon these for the success of the present war, to such an extent that if for one moment he had thought they were gone, he would have waited until they were found again. When it was discovered that they were not any longer in their place, the most trained members of his secret service were set upon the trail. It is my belief that Germany is now continuing the war with the hope that these great secrets may be located in time to give their supremacy. While the manuscript as an entirety is not complete, I felt that it was only proper to acquaint the members of the Alfalfa Club with such information as had been presented to me up to this time. Sincerely, Ralph H. Burton. Okay, so that is pretty crazy, because we see this corroboration that we have of things that were not generally known amongst the populace about first of all, the conspiracy wasn't really known to exist amongst the general populace. You have different waves of knowledge. You have during the 1830s, 1820s, 1830s, where you have the anti-Mason movement. You have John Quincy Adams writing a book about Masonry. You have before that in the late 1790s, you have George Washington and John Adams and others warning about the Bulgarian Illuminati and the Jacobins and their influence in the United States. But when you get to this point, basically post 1860s to the early 1900s, the idea of a conspiracy has generally left the zeitgeist, the general mindset of the populace of the United States. We were in this mindset that you could trust the government, that the government would, they wouldn't lie to us. You've got some general things just in different cases of corruption, but that was always taken care of. we can trust our leaders. They're patriotic. And but what we see here, that those leaders were talking about the conspiracy that we've been able to learn about basically since the 1960s. And moving forward, more and more information about the conspiracy, its history, has become made public. And the claims of the Ames and history and, the name of Edward Mandell House, all those things put together tell us that they knew about the conspiracy. And to write this amongst themselves tells you what they thought about it and what their goals were, and that this is really what it's all about. That their cover story that everyone in the media is willing to, back them up with, is a farce. It's baloney. It's not true. And so we have to look beyond that. And so the Tree of Liberty Society, the only, I've been involved in many different organizations, watched different people that have been really, well-known people like Alex Jones, the John Birch Society, and I've never seen anyone talk about the Alfalfa Club, as much as I respect, those organizations. But we've been able to uncover this secret society and what their aims are, their own autobiography, and help you to be able to understand this, because it helps to put the pieces together as we understand, right, who this Armstrong guy is that wrote this article just earlier this year about the Alfalfa Club and how he's a paid propagandist that masquerades as a conservative radio talk show host. And we have these individuals who, many of you that are watching this might have thought that Mitt Romney was this, great champion of conservatism in 2012 when he ran for president, or 2008 when he ran for president. But if we understood the conspiracy, then we wouldn't be wasting our time spinning our wheels and wasting our money on trying to get the right guy elected, when that guy is Mitt Romney, who is the future head of this satanic secret society. If we understand these things, and that's what we're doing at the Tree of Liberty Society, it's not just about education. I'm not here to just talk, get you your latest fix on the latest gossip on what's going on with those, in the conspiracy. That doesn't do us any good. We have to take action with it. And so it's designed, what we're doing here at the Tree of Liberty Society is working to help save you time and money, so you're not engaging and investing time and money into the wrong efforts. And so we encourage you to become members of the Tree of Liberty Society to support our efforts, so that we can actually bring to you this type of information, so that way you can be better equipped, so you can make better decisions and engage yourself in better action items that we're working on at the Tree of Liberty Society. So I just want to look at here the chat. I love how you guys are active in there. Hopefully, if you guys have any questions, any comments that you'd like to share about what I've been able to cover tonight about the Alfalfa Club, please feel free to put that in there, and I will do my best to be able to answer the questions that you might have, or just share with everybody, make sure that it's on the video, some comments that you might have. So I'll wait for those, but it's just, this type of thing is, the Alfalfa Club. This is probably, this channel is the only place you're hearing these things about the Alfalfa Club. And that this fake conservative is daring to call people like Madeleine Albright and Joe Biden and Chuck Schumer patriotic Americans is just laughable, and tells you that, their definition of words is not our definition of words. And so when we're listening to these people and they're claiming certain things, we can start to see through that. Hey, just because they said X doesn't mean they meant X. It means, they meant Y when they said that. So, well, I don't see any questions or comments in here. I was talking about the wooden horse part, just FYI. Oh, okay. So I don't see any more questions or anything in the chat. So we'll go ahead and end this tonight. Please go to the Tree of Liberty Society in a couple of days. We'll be doing our pre-order for our new updated, expanded, and combined invasion book. And next Thursday, so 1 week from tonight, 7 p.m. Mountain, come back and join us for another live program. We're going to be talking about the Hellfire Club, another secret society, not talked about a lot. More people have talked about that than the Alfalfa Club. We're basically the exclusive people talking about the Alfalfa Club. But we're going to be getting into this more, this society that even predates the Bavarian Illuminati in the documents that we can prove and have, goes back to the late 1600s with the Hellfire Club. So yeah, Latter-day Nomad. I didn't know exactly how old this group is. What a revelation to how interconnected they are. Absolutely. So again, thank you so much. We will see you next Thursday night, 7 o'clock. Please go to treeoflibertysociety.com and become a member today. We'll see you next time.